Detours. Brought to you by Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. For the past 5 years, Amanda McGrory has been serving as archivist and collections curator for the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. As a 7-time Paralympic medalist herself, Amanda is keenly aware of talent, and by her recommendation today, we're putting the spotlight on an absolute historic talent, multi-gold medalist in 2 sports, the great Sharon Hedrick. Hey, welcome, Amanda.
Thanks so much for having me.
Amanda, boy, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Sharon has done so many great things, and I see, first of all, right off the top, I see some really cool stuff behind you. I see Sharon's jacket, I believe from the 84 games when she ran in the exhibition event, and some really nice medals back there.
We do have a pretty amazing collection of artifacts from Olympic and Paralympic Games spanning back to the very beginning. So Paralympic Games starting in 1960, and I pulled some pieces from our collection here to kind of help talk about some of the incredible achievements of Sharon Hedrick during her athletic career.
It's really astounding when I look at Sharon's 68, I'm 66. We're only a couple of years apart, but boy, she lived through such a really tough era. I can hardly imagine what it was like for her to even travel. I mean, before we even get into the 84 games, she was in games prior to that. Can you even imagine what it was like to travel overseas prior to the 80s?
I can't even imagine what traveling would have been like within the United States at that time. This is predating the ADA by about 20 years. And so at that time, you think about all of the accommodations and securities that are put in place for individuals with disabilities today. None of that existed then. Public places did not have to be accessible for wheelchair users in any way.
Yeah, it's just astounding. I think back to that era, the greats, the George Murrays, and so many of those people, Brad Parks, and how tough it must have been to just tromp around the world at that point in time. But let's get on to Sharon. Sharon was, she really was quite a talent. I had an opportunity to interview her already, and so I know quite a bit about her. And I can't begin to state how many different ways I admire her. But what a fierce competitor! She excelled at the highest level in both basketball and track,
which is something that's really, really difficult to do. And it's fun because when you look back to the early years of the Paralympic Games and even the early years of the Olympic Games, you see a lot more athletes competing in more than one sport. And that's just something that can't happen today. With schedules, the way that the games are set up, it's almost impossible. But looking back and watching, so Sharon, at her first game, she actually competed in swimming as well. So not only did she excel in wheelchair basketball and the sport of wheelchair racing, she also has a couple medals in swimming.
Yeah, unbelievable. When I talked to Sharon, it was just so interesting to be able to get sort of her impression of what it was like to roll out on the track. And I know you've been to the Paralympics as well, and that's high pressure. But could you even imagine? And I talked to her about what was it like in '84 to roll out on that track. Now you're going out into the the LA Coliseum in front of probably 60 or so thousand people. You've got no steering on your chair. Your primary job is really don't crash the chair. I just asked her. How did you even manage to contain the amount of energy that was in you? And you have to wonder what it was that she had to do to pull all that together to win that gold medal.
I think back to my first Paralympic Games, and my first event out on the track was in Beijing in front of a sold-out stadium. And I had never been in front of that many people in my entire life, and I panicked. I absolutely panicked. I forgot everything that I was supposed to do. I got lucky and I got to redo the race, but that's a separate story. But I think the thing that's most surprising when you're in front of a huge number of people like that is the noise. Even if they're not cheering, screaming, yelling, just the rustling around and the ambient noise that creates, it is a roar when you are down on the track in a stadium like that. And this is thinking back to the 80s, there was hardly any fan support or awareness around Paralympic sport at the time. And so Sharon, going from competing in front of a few hundred friends and family to thousands of people at the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, the pressure must have been unbelievable.
So it was an 800 meters, and as we know, Sharon took it right off the front. And so she wins the very first one in 84 in a time of 2 minutes, 15 seconds, 0.73. I mean, really very respectable time for a chair that had no steering. Then she comes back in 1988, 4 years later, at the first official Paralympics in Seoul, and she wins it back to back. So now she's got 2 Olympic gold, and she goes on to play on a gold medal basketball team coached by her husband. I mean, wow, how many things can you throw into the mix?
So amazing and so multi-talented. And this is one of my favorite artifacts that we have in our collection. I don't know exactly who it came from or how it ended up here. It was sold at auction and it was a closed sale, so I don't know the original owner. However, we have one of those exhibition medals from the Seoul 88 Olympic Games, and I'm gonna put on some gloves so I can show it to you.
Awesome.
Because it is so cool. It is unlike the Olympic or Paralympic medals, and it actually has a little image of Hedrick, the mascot from the Seoul Games, in a racing chair on the medal.
Oh, wow. Let's see what we got here.
So I'm going to hold it out so hopefully we can get a good picture of it. But how cool is that with the old style 4-wheel racing chair?
Slide that over a little bit more into the center. Oh, beautiful.
Yep. Isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
And so the back is the logo for the Seoul Olympic Games. And you can see that it's got the 5 rings from the Olympics. So this is an Olympic medal. But it was produced specifically for the wheelchair racing demonstration events that happened at those games.
Incredible. It's so, I can't even imagine. I think about all the, as we sit back and we have so many fantasies about what it was like to have an opportunity even to, race for the United States, much less that, real quick, right behind me here, we've got a Paralympic poster from the 88 games, and it's I don't know, it's just really amazing as to how they went about coming up with designs, because they were just they being the general public so unaccustomed to dealing with having wheelchairs in the Olympics and creating a Paralympic Games.
And this is at a time when there wasn't really a lot of standardization when we're talking about the Paralympic Games either. The International Paralympic Committee didn't exist yet. That wasn't established until 1989 after the Seoul Games. And so the Seoul Games were really groundbreaking in a lot of ways. It was the first Paralympic Games where all of the events were held in the same location, in the same facilities as the Olympic Games. And it really set the stage for where we are today, how the Olympic and Paralympic Games work together. They are 2 separate events, 2 separate entities, but that was the first time that we saw the Paralympic Games following the Olympics and really starting to build that momentum for the event and for sports and the athletes.
We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Sports and Spokes Magazine. For nearly 50 years, they've produced stories on iconic athletes performing at the top of their game, given generational coverage of sports dating back to the 1970s, and they've shown the way with exciting and timeless magazine cover shots. To stay on top of all the latest news from the world of high-performance adaptive sports, go to sportsandspokes.com. Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation.
Knowing that the U of I, University of Illinois, has such a legacy of winners and just, forward-moving pioneers, where do you hold Sharon in that lore?
I have so many feelings about the University of Illinois as a 2-time graduate from the university myself. But if we were talking about the major breakout stars from the University of Illinois, we talk about Jean Driscoll a lot, 8-time winner of the Boston Marathon and hugely influential in the road racing world. But Sharon walked so Jean could run. Sharon was there first. And the things that she did, just the amount of achievement she has, and going on to remain influential and involved in sports after competition, she is one of the all-time greats. It's so hard to talk about like, oh, well, if, Sharon Hedrick were out racing today against whoever, it's always hard to say because you can't compare cross generations like that. But running two 16-800s in a four-wheel racing chair with no steering, I can't even imagine the immense amount of talent and strength and training that goes into that. She's one of the greats and always will be.
She certainly made it look natural. And, I could probably sit here for 10 minutes going on and on about Sharon, but just a couple of the tidbits I found about her. She's the only U.S. athlete to win Paralympic and Olympic gold. In 1977, she was the first female competitor in the Boston Marathon. 84, she wins 800 gold. 88, she wins 800 gold in the exhibition events. Comes back and wins a gold in the basketball tournament with her. As I said, her husband Brad was coach. Brad was very influential also at U of I. In 92, she comes back. She picks up a silver in Barcelona in basketball. She's got two master's degrees from the U of I. First woman inducted into the National Wheelchair Hall of Fame in 1994. In 88, she was named the USOC Athlete of the Year. And I know now that you have a pretty nice surprise for us that, Sharon has become a finalist.
Yeah, astonishingly, with all of those achievements and all of the honors she's received already, she is not yet a member of the USOPC Hall of Fame.
How's that possible?
I know, right? And so voting for that is going to go live today. She is actually one of those finalists for the Paralympic division. 3 Paralympians will be inducted into the USOPC Hall of Fame.
Just to even be able to, get to a finalist status. I mean,
Absolutely. And I think it's so important because Sharon is such a huge part of the history of Paralympic sport, the sports of wheelchair racing and wheelchair basketball in the United States. And I think it's really important for athletes today, our modern wheelchair racers and wheelchair basketball players, to be able to connect with that and to connect with the history. And like I said, she laid the groundwork. A lot of the things that are possible today, especially for women in these sports, I don't know that we would be where we are today without Sharon.
I can't believe I've forgotten this, but Sharon is actually on a magazine cover. This was an iconic magazine cover from, I forgot what year it was. Well, it was September of 84. Sport and Spoke put her on the cover. And, when we were putting the studio together, I instantaneously said, this magazine cover must be up in the studio. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it there. She's one of the greats. She's one of the legends. She is deserving of the honor of being inducted into the USOPC Hall of Fame. And just her accomplishments and her legacy speak for themselves.
Do you think, in a way, as you reflect back, Amanda, was Sharon's success, was it more based upon the fact that she was extremely talented, or was she extremely determined, gifted, or a combination of things? What made Sharon so great?
I think that in order to reach the highest level of your sport, no matter what it is, it doesn't matter what level of talent you have to have the drive and the motivation and the determination to get there. So Sharon, obviously incredibly talented from the start, joined the University of Illinois team, began excelling in various different sports. I mean, we're talking about 3 different sports at the international level in which she's medaled. But you don't get there without putting in the time and the work and the effort. Talent only goes so far.
Really excited to have shed, so much light on Sharon Hedrick and the accomplishments that she's done for our community and many others. I mean, she's really done such a great job of not only spreading the word, but really showing a true athletic talent. So thank you so much, Amanda. I mean, putting a spotlight on this great woman was really an honor today.
Thanks, Bob. It was great to be here.